Barbara Melbourne is from Palmer College. She is the Vice Chancellor of Advancement for the Women's Institute. She's an attorney. She's celebrated 35 years in philanthropy in higher education and social service organization for Penn State, UCLA, and now Palmer. She's the proud mom of 2 strong young women who I hope, this is her words, so I'm a mom of a daughter too, so she hopes that her daughters will be as strong as some of the young ladies in this room. So I'd like to announce and introduce Barbara Melbourne.
I joined Palmer 2 years ago, and as the Vice Chancellor of Institutional Advancement, which is alumni and development. So, thank you. I'm on, and I want to tell you about coming here. Oops. I wanted to first say congratulations to all of you. This is just amazing to see this group together and to see all that you have accomplished. Congratulations to the entire board. I have to say, Donna Kraft, I had been at Palmer 3 months when I met you. And we were sitting at a board meeting and she said, "Have you heard about this Facebook group?" And at the Yeah, it was your first board meeting too. That's right. And as you know, she's on our board of trustees, and I had not met any of the board members yet, so I was a little nervous. And I'm sitting there, and she's showing me this Facebook group. And at the time, there was fewer than 1,000 members. And you told me it was growing by hundreds. And look what you said, over 7,000. 7,200 now. Well, that was yesterday. That was yesterday. So congratulations for everything that you've done. And I am so honored to be here and to tell you a little bit about what Palmer's doing, inspired by you all. When I came to Palmer, I wanted to tell you, I was really, really nervous because I am not a chiropractor. Confession time. I'm not a chiropractor. And when I applied for the job, actually, I didn't apply for the job. Someone turned my name in and said, you might want to talk to Barb. They were doing a search. And I sat in the conference room with Denny and the rest of the executive team around the table. And they said, "What's your experience with chiropractic beside being a patient?" And I had to say, well, I drive by the school on Brady Street, like at least once a week. And it's really pretty. I've never been inside. So I didn't have experience with chiropractic. So I had to learn about Palmer. And I had to learn about the family and the history of chiropractic. Now I knew that Davenport was the location of the first chiropractic adjustment by D.D. Palmer. I did know that. You hear about that in the Quad Cities. And I had seen the big plaque. Has anybody seen the plaque on 2nd and Brady? Well, so I knew of that, but that was the limit of my experience with the chiropractic profession. So I had a tall order to learn about this amazing family and the chiropractic legacy that they started. Then, if I can get it to work, oops, I had to learn about, I'm going too fast. I had to learn about Palmer today. So I immersed myself in the Palmer culture, went straight out to visit both of our other campuses, the West Campus in San Jose and the Florida campus, just not too far from here, about an hour's drive. And I met with students, I met with faculty, I met with alumni, and I heard their stories. And then I had to learn about the profession. And really, I learned about that from all of you, from alumni and even from our grateful patients. And as you can see, I use that word cloud because there's a lot to learn when you're not a chiropractor. But the interesting thing about my profession is that it's, my experience in my profession is not that different than what some of you or all of you have experienced in your profession. When I graduated from law school, well, actually, when I was an undergrad, I worked in philanthropy. And then when I always wanted to be a lawyer. I went to law school, and I thought, I just don't want to practice. I clerked in a couple of law firms, and I thought, there's a couple of lawyers in here. And I said, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do trial work. I didn't want to do bankruptcy. I did bankruptcy as a clerk. And I thought, I wonder if there's anything I can do to combine my legal training with, a career in philanthropy. And that's how I discovered this whole area that I'm in. When I started in 1988, straight out of law school, there was 100 people at our first convention. 100 people at the National Committee on Planned Giving. Now there's that's not like yours, but there's several thousand, and they attend an annual convention. In fact, it's here in Florida this year. But I walked into that room, and I was one of a handful of women. And the local group, the local association, I walked in, and it was all men. So I was 26 years old, and I walked in, and there's all these men sitting in this boardroom for the local meeting of planned giving professionals. And God bless them, they stood up and clapped, and they said, "Thanks for interrupting our coffee klatch." And that was about the warmest welcome I got. But my mentors were all men. There just weren't women in the field. And I found along the way that I had to seek out women who maybe were outside of my profession, but that would mentor me. And that really shaped, for me, my own experience about how I like to work with folks. And we have in here one member of our team, Liz Nolte, who a lot of you have met already. And she does amazing work. And
Because Barb is an amazing man.
Thank you, Liz. But what I believe is that we, Liz is coming up behind me in the profession, and I want to empower her with all of the tools for her to be successful. She already loves what she does. She loves Palmer. She loves philanthropy, and she lives it. But I got to teach her. I got to help her through some of those bumps, and that's what I take on as my responsibility to my profession and to the philanthropy, the different philanthropic causes that I love and that she loves. So it just really, my own experience really formed my thoughts on this. And then when I heard what Donna said at the first board meeting for both of us, we were both nervous. I just found that everyone in the profession that I talked to, men and women, were welcoming, but especially your group. Amazing and talented and welcoming women who didn't say, "Well, you're not a chiropractor? Why are you working at Palmer?" Which was what I was nervous about. I found all of you, and Liz, you did too, found all of you to be welcoming, and you shared your stories with us. And we, in the fundraising world, thrive on stories. We thrive on stories, so we love to hear your stories. And that's what energizes us, because each of your stories is the reason that we're doing what we're doing. We're trying to give others the opportunity to succeed just like you. So when I looked at your mission, connecting compassionate, confident, charitable, and courageous chiropractors, and I thought about all the history that I'd learned at Palmer, I thought I would share with you just a few, and there are so many, and you're going to learn about them tonight, of some of the people who embody those exact words. And the first I wanted to say was all of you. Compassion is just a part, it's who you are in your daily lives, whether it's when you're practicing or doing any of your work or with your families. Compassion, we all share that. And one of the people who felt that compassion was a necessity in life was Mabel Palmer. And I loved that quote, "None of us is perfect, so have compassion and human understanding for others." This is an amazing quote, too. And I felt like learning about Mabel really inspired me in my work with Palmer. I had to throw these in because pictures of Mabel are amazing. And this at Palmer is one of our favorite pictures of her, because the joy on her face in her sun hat is amazing. And then, of course, there is the Sigma Phi Chi sorority that she started. And as you know, she's called the First Lady of Chiropractic. And there's just a few of the achievements that we're proud to share with you. There's so much more I could tell you about Mabel. But I encourage you to learn about her if you haven't. And I know you got a button, but if you want another one, stop by and see Liz. We have one too. But I didn't know that she was the international president of the Quota Club, which promoted gender equality and empowerment for women way back then, and started the sorority in 1911. So clearly, I think that she embodies the compassionate part of your mission. And how many of you have ever heard of Flavia Van Dyke? You know Flavia? I love Flavia's story, and I do believe she embodies courageous. Flavia, as you can see, is right over there. But look at this. That takes courage. That's her class. ICA Student Action Committee, and she's the only woman. Flavia was, her mom, Molly, was a chiropractor, and she actually played piano, and she taught piano from the age of 12 to 95. Her last piano lesson she gave when she was 95 years old. And she didn't go to Palmer till she was 38 years old. And then she went back to the state of Washington where she had been teaching piano lessons, and she went and got a massage therapy license because she couldn't practice openly in the state of Washington. In 1995, though, the state issued her an honorary lifetime license for all that she had done to pioneer chiropractic in her lifetime. We're pretty proud of her. And in her obituary, they said she was the true lady of the 20th century who stood up for her beliefs. Flavia did something else that's kind of fun that I wanted to share with you. She wrote a song. It's beautiful. We didn't share the whole song with you because it would take a long time, but it is gorgeous. And she gave that to Palmer, and as you can see, this is a letter from BJ thanking her for this beautiful song. And we had a friend record that, obviously a gifted pianist. She would have been very proud to have him play this and have it played for all of you. Then when I thought about confident, how many of you have ever heard of Palmyra Cabana? None? Palmyra is, oh, did you know? You know Palmyra? Palmyra, I especially like this because I can't see it from over here, but look at what it says under the gentleman. It says, I'm getting old. I was high as a kite. And I am contaminated. And then look under her. She's president of this, leader of that. The class officers, she really stood out there. That letter on the left is a letter from BJ. Palmyra's parents named her after Palmer. Both of them were chiropractors. Fred and Margaret graduated from Palmer, and then in Chicago were arrested for practicing without a license. She missed only 2 Palmer homecomings until she was too old to travel from the age of 8 months on. So you said it's those people who have been and heard the words and heard other chiropractors and they're surrounded by it that then become chiropractors themselves. And she was the first female chiropractor in Volusia County, which is Daytona Beach, which is right where we have our campus today, which she did not, she passed away, I think, at the first year that we had a campus here. She was FCA Chiropractor of the Year, Palmer Academy of Chiropractic Fellow, and she was the first woman to come back and address a graduating class at Palmer College in 1972. In a oral history that she did for us, she said Mabel was her role model. And BJ used to sit on the steps, and as she'd walk by, he'd say, "How's it going, Palmer A?" Because he liked her name. "How's it going, Palmer A?" But really, when I think about who embodies those, I think about all of you in this room and the amazing things that you're doing. All of you are compassionate, all of you are confident, and all of you are courageous, trying to start all of this. And look what, where you're going to be in a few years even, where you've come in this year and a half that I've been with Palmer. And what you inspired us to do, because when I heard about, I sit on the board of the Girl Scouts for Eastern Iowa and Western Illinois. I'm on the board of the Royal Neighbors Foundation for Women. I'm on that board. And supporting women and promoting women and encouraging them and empowering them is something that has always been very close to my heart. So when I heard about your group, I started to say, what is Palmer doing for women? So I kind of asked at the executive team level, and we haven't done anything. We're doing a lot for women, but we haven't intentionally, strategically, and systematically approached women's issues. So we started a conversation. And from that, we decided to start the Palmer Women's Institute. And I wanted to tell you tonight a little bit about what an institute is. Or what it's not is a place. And I'll keep on my time because I got to make sure. An institute is not a place. There's no location for our institute. In higher ed, there's a 60-year history of women's institutes. The first one was at Chatham College. Has anybody ever heard of Chatham College? That was the very first women's institute. But now they are very common. So over the past 60 years, Harvard, Notre Dame, Tufts, Boston College, University of Iowa, Iowa State, they all have women's programs. Now, the commonality among them, really varying missions. Some are purely social. So it's a place, it's a room, you can come gather, you can have reading materials. Other places it's gender studies, other places it's advocacy. And maybe others it's teaching leadership skills or LGBTQ issues and advocacy. But the commonality is gender equity on campus and in the community served by the campus, which includes alumni. And so they're promoting the interests of women and incubating leadership skills for students and the community. And that's what we wanted to do. So what is it? I promise you we're not challenging the patriarchy. It's not for women only. It's for women students and those men who support women students and who care to learn the very same leadership skills that women want to learn. And it's for female chiropractors and our alumni. And it really is an outcropping of our vision to be the trusted leader in chiropractic education. That's Palmer's vision. And so this is natural to be an educational program for women. It emerged from the inspiration of you all, but certainly also it's taken form from conversations with students, with you, with alumni, and faculty. And we've talked about the challenges, perceived challenges, real challenges, and how we might address those. And really it stems from a natural outcropping of the college's leadership and historical commitment to women. So it will consist of programming. Right now, I'm really excited about this. We just finished our business plan, but we have a meeting on it with the committee. And one of our co-chairs is right here, and she'll be talking next, is Michelle Barber Drover, who will be talking following me. And she is one of our co-chairs, along with Virginia Barber, who a lot of you know. But we are working to ensure that barriers to women's success are removed or lessened, that we nurture a sense of community on the college and out in the community, and that women have tools to succeed at the school and in the profession, and that we have research-informed objectives and measurements of progress. And we discovered that there wasn't a lot of research. You know that. There's not a lot of research about gender issues or challenges in the chiropractic profession. There isn't in the medical profession even. There's very, very little. But clearly the research that exists says we have to do something. We have to do something. Women are growing as a percentage in the chiropractic profession, and there exists special needs. So our research has consisted of a survey that we just sent out over the summer, and we're just finishing up right now. So I'm excited when we'll have more to share with you about this, because we've been compiling it. But clearly, first of all, we found that clearly people are saying they have advantages to being a woman, lots of advantages. But half said that they find challenges or obstacles because of their gender. So we're not definitely not taking the approach that we got to solve all these problems. How do we capitalize on the advantages too? So it's not just addressing issues or challenges, but it's taking the unique benefits of gender and working from that foundation. We are going to use research to measure success of any of our efforts and to shape our objectives going forward. So definitely we want to be research-based. And so then I moved to charitable. My entire career has been in charity. And I wanted to talk to you about people who have supported what we do. You don't do something like this initiative of the college without charitable support. You can't add on to what any school does without having some sort of funding for that. And so Donna Kraft, here in the front, our trustee and one of the board members of the Women DCs, yes, stepped forward and created an endowed fund that will permanently support our work. And after she did, her fellow trustee, Susan Hatfield, did as well. So I now I'm proud to announce that we have over $100,000 in endowment. So thank you. Vicki has been a very strong supporter already, as you all know. And here's some of our other very generous donors, and they're in this room. Amanda and Adam, thank you. Susan. Nancy, where's Nancy? There she is. And the rest are not here. Oh yeah, Barb. My husband's on board. And I wanted to tell you why I picked those women who were earlier, when I talked about confident and courageous. Not only were they courageous and confident in their careers, but they gave back. So both Flavia and Palmyra created endowed scholarships just for women. So to date, both of them recently passed away, one in 2001 and one in 2006. But more than 20 young women have received scholarship assistance from these permanent funds set up by these courageous leaders. And I wanted to tell you why I got into this business, and I'm embarrassing myself with college graduation photos. But I do want to, some of you who came to our homecoming heard this story, but I think it's important to share about my own motivation for being here. That gentleman up in the corner is Father Mike Morrison. And Father Morrison was the president of Creighton University when I went there. And I can tell you that my mom and dad, who are both gone in those pictures, could not afford to send me to school. They couldn't. So I worked 2 jobs. I worked at an ice cream shop on the weekends until 1 in the morning. And I worked in the development office, calling alumni and asking them for their support. When I lost my financial aid and my scholarships because my mom and dad just made that much too much on paper, I couldn't stay at Creighton. I was gonna have to leave. So I was sitting on the front steps of the college administration building, and Father Mike, that we always called him, came out for a smoke, because he smoked, thank God. That sounds funny to say, but thank God. He sat down next to me and he said, "What's wrong?" And I told him, I said, "Father Mike, I'm a sophomore. I love Creighton and I can't stay." And I explained the whole story to him. And he said, "Aren't you one of my phone callers in the alumni office?" And I said, "Yes, I am." He said, "What do you want to do with your life?" And I hadn't discovered this career yet. And I said, "Well, I want to go to law school." And he said, "You come back here in about an hour. I want another smoke and I want to talk to you." And I didn't know what he would do. But in an hour, I came back and I sat down and he had a piece of paper in his hand and he said, "This is a scholarship. It's by the Amundsen family. And it's for students who want to go to law school. And I know the Amundsens would be proud to have you as the recipient of that scholarship, and that you would stay as a part of the Creighton family." So I am a Creighton graduate, and I'm very proud of that, because some family set up a scholarship. And that really taught me that I could use my own career. He said, "I want you to remember this, and when you go forward, you need to pay it back. That's what you need to do." And so that stuck with me, and I thought, how can I do that? And I was really proud to write a story in the Creighton magazine. He passed just this year, and they asked me to write this up in the Creighton magazine and share it with people, because Father Mike inspired lots of folks, but he truly made it possible for me, made me able to go out and help others through philanthropy change lives. And I think that's pretty special inspiration. And then you all. What I'd like to just leave with is your mission statement up here. Whether, we're sitting in Florida, there's been tremendous devastation from hurricanes and that. Whether you give back to help in natural disasters, whether you serve on committees and civic organizations, or whether you support your college, as many of these women that I talked about tonight do. Please give back. I know it's part of your nature, but our charitable actions today are going to build that next generation of chiropractors, but of strong, capable women like those 2 little girls that are now off in college of mine, who I hope one day will be all just like you. Thank you for letting me come. This is just really special. You guys are awesome. You guys are awesome.